Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the podcast Tokenization, the new Phenom. This one is episode 3, Tritiya, just like the sound of it. So we have amazing duo with us today, and obviously Ashank will be joining in a little later. So let me just quickly do introductions. One is why we're doing this podcast. The one and fundamental idea about creating this podcast is to educate the Indian investors community on real value of tokenizations, as well as the retail investors, and as well as the other regular public, who want to understand how tokenization is helping. The first series we are doing is with on real estate, but later will come on content and different other forms of tokenization. All right. So now about my co-host Ashank. So he has been building REIT real estate entry tokenizer community to connect with leading entrepreneurs among people of Bharat who have developed the core or ancillary support solutions for enabling real estate tokenization. Today, there are quite a lot of Indian founders who are leveraging Web3 for demonstrating real estates within or outside India, as well as are they are honorary members of the REIT community. Right. Ashank is a managing director of Bhuvanijak Consultancy Services, which serve the needs of principals, agents, investors, customers, and partners seeking dharmic real estate solutions. He is actively building a platform for planning dharmic elderly housing solutions. He's a graduate of IIT Kanpur and IIM Calcutta. He has worked in Royal Dutch Shell before embarking on his 40,000 kilometer journey exploring 600 plus ancient dharmic sites throughout the land of Bharata and Sri Lanka. So let me just go ahead and call upon Ashank. Hi Ashank,
Hey
welcome.
Anak, many thanks.
Fantastic. Let's just do a quick introduction. So, my name is Alek. I run a company called Animoy Solution. We are a Web3 focused design and development agency. I run another podcast called The Future of Web, as well as a couple of other initiatives called Metaverse Marathon and a few other things. So, you can go ahead and check out LinkedIn and website for more information. Now, to the guest today, we have a fantastic duo who are running a company called Investorey. So, first, I'll invite Manisheel Gautam. He is the co-founder and CEO of Investorey. He's from IITB, that's IIT Bombay, and I am Ahmedabad. He's worked in Ola. He was part of the Ola growth story from say 5,000 rides to 3 million rides. That's a massive one. He's a 0 to 1 expert. He's helping in new launches and transformation specialist. So let's go ahead and welcome Manisheel. Hi Manisheel, how are you?
All good, Alec. Thank you for inviting us and getting us to talk on this exciting topic of tokenization and blockchain in this whole industry.
Oh, pleasure. Pleasure is all mine, or rather ours. Cool. So let's invite Shikhar, Daydar. He's also the co-founder and CPO. So that's Chief Product Officer of Investory. He's also from IIT Bombay. He's also ex Ola and MPL. He's had multiple analytics roles across product, revenue, and operations, data analytics, and he's an architecture specialist. All right, let's go ahead and welcome Shikhar. Hi, Shikhar.
Hello, how are you guys doing? Thank you so much for having us. Been a pleasure.
Pleasure. I can tell you, like between all you IITians, I feel like, man, I have a lot to catch up on. Right? Nice. And I feel, to be honest, I feel thankful as well. I've been able to having these discussions with you. But anyhow, so we'll start quickly. We have a lot to discuss, and there's a tons of questions, which Ashank has put together as well. So let me start with the first question, and then over to Ashank. So, how does data-backed analysis help investors in real estate? Can you just explain that from the Investorey model?
I'll take that question. So one thing we have seen as a problem in real estate is you have to rely on subjectivity. You have to rely on the subjectivity of that friend. You will have to rely on the subjectivity of that broker or from the platform which is giving you that investment. So at the end of the day, you have so much information to process, not given in the right format, maybe not even right at all. So that is where the whole data-led analytics or the database model comes in, where if presented in the right format and if with the right data, you can actually remove all the subjectivity from real estate investments. You can actually make it so data backed that you don't even have to go and visit anything and invest somewhere. That's the power of data, and that's what we want to bring to our investors and to the community in general.
Manisheel, I like to just intervene a bit. No, I completely appreciate the thought. I mean, this is what smart real estate is all about. But we all know that Indian real estate is uh, way too far from real and authentic data, especially when it comes to the transactions reporting.
Yeah.
So, a classic example is that the actual prices at which the real estate exchange hands, vis-a-vis what gets reported in the registrar itself, is at times a factor of 1 is to 2 or 1 is to 3 different away. So in that case, how exactly is this data anywhere coming reliable to begin with?
Got it. So I understand and I agree with the point of view, but I am also coming from the fact that registrar is not the only data or like the only source of data which is there in real estate. There are multiple levels of data which is there. For example, if you take commercial real estate, you have your data coming in from the building, which is your registry, your amount which has been registered, which is who is the tenant, what is the lock-in, what is the lease period. If you're looking for a clean property, what is the exact documentation required for a clean property? What are the property rates around you? What are the rental rates around you? What are the vacancy rates around you? If you bring all of this together in a structured format, even if one data point or data set is not reported correctly, you will be able to figure out at least to 18 to 90 percentile level that if this is a good place to be or not. So it's not about one single data point, it's like a set of data points, and how do you analyze it in a way that it gives you the right answer. It is always about asking the right questions. If you ask the right questions, you will find the right answer. We are trying to ask the right questions, and if someone does not have that answer, then we don't want to deal with that real estate, because then that there is a gap there.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
and to
that's a very
add on to
important point
this,
to be noted. Yes, Shikhar, please.
sorry, to add on to this, what we are trying to do is we are trying to quantify all these subjectivities. I'm not saying that
Hmm.
the data is not out there. As Manisheel said, the data is there. It is out there. What we are trying to do is we are trying to make sense out of it for our clients. For anyone who is interested in real estate, we're going to make sense of the data and let them and put it in front of them in such a way that it is very easily consumable for them to understand. So that is our understanding of how we are going to remove the subjectivity out of the whole system, is what we are trying to do here using data.
Yeah, just
So I have a question. You're trying to bring subjectivity, right? But is it easily understood as easily you think that it's being projected?
right now, from whatever we have worked with our clients, they actually understand it. And I will give you an example. The way we structure our data for real estate investments, we basically categorize it into five parts. First is how clean or what is the safety of your investment in terms of the building. Is the title clearance done? What is who is the person who is selling this? Is it registered? Do you have the land deed? Do you have all the documentation required for it to be legal? So that takes care of if is it a legal property or not. Once that is established, then you get into is it the right price to invest or not, and then we bring you 5 7 8 data points. What is the price around, what is the rental rate, what is the appreciation, what has been the historic performance, what has been the historic performance in similar properties. So that gives you an understanding of how much you can make money in terms of growth. Then you come into, let's say, tenant. Like you, at the end of the day, if it's a rental, then it is dependent on a person who is renting it and giving you money. How strong is that tenant? Is the tenant good? Will he or she stay? So these are three or four level, and there are more. We don't want to spend a lot of time onto it, but we're saying we categorize it into a simple way where a new retail investor can basically understand. Oh, this is what makes sense to me. I can understand if it is clean, if it has good potential, if it is going to be secure in terms of long term, and what is exit.
So I'll take a bit of a deeper insights from what you just said a while back. That if they don't have the answers, we don't want to deal with it. By that very filter, I mean I can visualize that there's a very strong filter which segregates a classic grade A property where all sort of compliances are being done, 100% authentic reporting is being done, proper taxations, everything. Vis-a-vis the average joy which we see around in Indian real estate, where what is being done is one thing and what is being reported is another.
Correct.
Uh, Shikhar, you want to take this?
Yeah, so what you're saying, if I'm understanding correctly, that grade A property, as you said, that it is compliant to all whatever is out there, but most of the properties, average properties out there, are masked as grade A properties and put out there in the market. Correct. So what our data and whatever Manishil said we are going to do with it is
Hmm.
our dire attempt to unmask it. And if a property is not grade A, then it needs to be put out there that this is not grade A, and we know why. And we're going to tell everybody, all our clients, whoever is going to deal with the property, that why it is not a grade A property. So this
Hmm.
why is what our team is going to answer for everybody who is asking the questions and for who don't really get those answers. So we're going to answer that. We're going to unmask all those properties who are put out there as grade A properties.
Sorry, just wanted to add to this where Ashank, you said ki, how will you differentiate, or you're basically alienating the ones who are not clean and only us putting the ones which are clean. We are saying if you see general macros across the industry, the
Hmm.
Indian government is clamping down on black money. All of
Hmm.
us are now linked to a certain number, matlab Aadhaar for that matter. Everything is
Hmm.
getting tracked, and over time, all of this will start getting more regulated. The Sarkar does not want black money to be there in the system anymore. And if you see individual efforts across the whole industry, you see there is significant movement towards that getting eradicated. For example, the Karnataka government increased the guidance rate by 30%. So by default, the black money, whatever registration was done, now will increase by 30%. So that amount of black money which ideally would have been there now goes down by 30% straight away. So over time, the way we see it, it has to start somewhere. If there is a place where there is clean, verified, organized investment, over time it will not be of any use for people to be not in the system, because the money will start flowing towards organized place and money will start coming out of the unorganized place. So the ones who are not clean will now have to come clean. And it will happen. It will take time, but it has to start somewhere. And that start somewhere is what we are trying to drive.
Wow, now this is a clear signal of a paradigm shift. Great.
Yeah, that is what
So,
we want. Organization.
fantastic. Coming to the next aspect of this cleansing of the system, what exactly sets apart the Investorys property verification processes from rest of the gang? When I say rest of the gang, see, because we are, especially in both dark web as well as real estate, we deal with largely a trustless world.
Yeah.
You cannot just take one's word for it. You have to have a very detailed homework, and real estate typically involves somebody's lifetime of savings, so actually the need to do homework is far more intense. So in that kind of a situation, what sets Investories entire processes of verification, validation, little apart from the average joy which we keep on finding?
Okay. So I'll just differentiate, like divide the question into two part. The first part is we've already talked about how we segregate the data into a system where a retail consumer or a normal Joe can understand it in a easy format. We will get to the background of how we do that, so that we get into why is it different. At first level, uh, one, we work with AMCs to start with. We're bringing verified investment opportunities to people across the country, which is done with first level of verification already in place with the AMCs. Now we do second level of verification of all that data. So you for to start with, every data is verified twice. The one coming from the source, second time it is verified from our end. Second is we've sort of templatized what is required for that, for example, for that property to be established as a clean one and a good one to come in. So for the we basically pick up 200 parameters on the ground, from what is a micro market, what is a city, what is the growth potential, is it a white collar business in a blue collar area, or is it a blue collar business in a white collar area. All of this basically gets comprised into 50 odd metrics, and then that 50 odd metrics get comprised into five basic categories. So there is a lot of data which ideally would have been missed by normal hogwash. If you see a bank report, it has just a lot of information for you to process without any key takeaways. We, because we're coming from the tech background, we know okay, life is about key takeaways, and we want to bring into our investors straight away that we will parse the data for you. We do it to an exhaustive level. We only work with verified people, and we verify whatever even they bring on the platform. I hope that answers the question, Mr. Shyam.
Yeah, I think Ashank is maybe facing some,
Yes,
uh,
certainly in many aspects it is there, but I wanted to understand a little more granularity. See,
Okay.
I'm coming from an aspect that let's just say farmlands.
Okay.
Now, Indian farmlands often happen to be under a lot of ambiguity because of the Hindu undivided family kind of claims. So, any member of the family might have laid a particular claim or say कि my consent was not taken when this titles was being changed from this party to this party, etc.
Yeah.
And hence, there are rules that you need to validate for the last 30 years at least. So, in that kind of a context, how exactly uh, these processes are built in process are built with Investory? I meant in more specifically with the legal compliance aspects, because this
I think so. We lost Mr. Rasham, but I got the question.
Yeah.
The point here is, should we, Alex, should
yeah,
we
yeah,
wait
go
for?
ahead. Yeah, please go ahead.
Huh. Yes.
Ashank will join in.
So, so the point here is, one, the way we have gone across is we have not gone across the whole real estate domain in one go. We have
Hmm.
gone sequentially. We have added categories as we go. Once we have built the right thesis that this is, we have the right template to clear what is there, what is not. Farmland and plots are still something which we are looking into and creating a structure across. That's the last category we have not entered. We have actually launched residential resale and commercial real estate complete last week. Plot and agri is, we know, is a difficult place because all the title clearance and compliance issues and all the legal issues come on the plotting side and agri land only. So we are in process. We are working with our agriculture partners, which are agriculture AMCs, on figuring out what will be the best template to see if it is a good place to be or not. So that's still in process. So we only get into places where we have a thesis that we can bring verified investment to people, and that's still in, like the plot and agri land is still in place, like still in play, still in the way where we are exploring the right structures. Everything else, we have a system where we can verify it and bring it.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I think that's a good point, because in agri-land there's also a lot of dubiousness in play
Yeah.
sometimes. Like who's the actual owner. Sometimes people buy it as a farmland for agriculture, but they're not the actual farmers. They just try and take
Yeah.
some benefit out of it, right?
Yes.
I mean, especially in certain states, we've seen that all across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
how we
another.
see real estate is that we are seeing real estate as in two primary modes. One is asset ownership and one as an instrument of investment. So these are
Hmm.
two very different approaches when it comes to dealing with real estate.
Yeah.
What Ashang said was kind of a traditional way of dealing with real estate, which comes as an asset ownership part of things. But
Yeah.
what majority of work that Investory is doing right now is seeing real estate as an investment instrument. So it changes the ball game altogether. So when you start looking at real estate from an investment point of view, so we are not directly dealing with the land. Or for example, taking consideration the farmland example, I'm not dealing
Yeah.
directly with the farmlands. All right. So as Manishil mentioned earlier, we work with AMCs. Most of our partners are AMCs. So the real estate procurement and whatever the process is, it is their job, right? They do all of this, and we are just cross checking it. We're just cross checking it. And most of our farmland real estate investment products which are there that we have, they are, I mean, the concern raised was absolutely genuine,
Yeah.
but whatever instruments we have right now, they are slightly insulated by all of these issues because our AMC is making sure of it.
Yeah, because they've already gone through that process of kind of making sure
Yes.
it's legally bound, and all the
Yes,
paperwork is done. There's
yes,
no conflict of interest, or it's those
Yeah.
kind
yes,
of things.
yes.
Interesting.
it's more like the credibility of the AMCs, which ultimately comes as the whole savior in this entire show.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is subjected to our due diligence. Absolutely.
Whatever they're putting, we will verify it again. Plus, we are verifying the AMC also before it is coming on the platform, where we
Yeah.
know the DMC does not have a track record, then we don't partner with them because we don't want the whole issue of this which has historically been there. And because
Hmm.
Mr. Ashank, you were not there, we were talking about that we operate across categories where we can verify. Plotting
Hmm.
an agriculture land is still a different ballgame where we are figuring out the right way to get them on the platform. We're looking to work with brokers, but for that brokers to be required to be clean and to report the right data and create legal frameworks where if they don't do it and they will be the ones who are liable, that will be able to solve this whole problem that if someone who is selling it becomes liable, "Okay, I'll go to jail," then they will not do it.
Hmm.
So is it easy? Let me just start. Is it easy verifying brokers?
It's not easy verifying brokers, but it's easy to get the first, let's say 120, 100, 200 brokers whom you know or whom you know through the
Yeah.
network that these are the ones who are good. So once
Okay.
those 200 people make more money than rest of the people, then everyone else
Hmm.
will like, okay, I have to come clean and come on this side. Otherwise, they will keep making more money than me.
Yeah, and eventually everybody wants to, the piece of the pie.
Yes.
Yeah, Alex, I
Exactly.
can vouch for a fact. Identifying clean brokers is not an easy job.
It's not an easy job. So that's
Yeah.
why a template and a product and legal frameworks and like regulatory frameworks help. Not
Hmm.
everyone understand it. We have been doing this day in day out. That's our bread and butter. So that's where we are creating structures where they will not be able to do it if they want to come here. If they want to do it in silos in their own capacity, we can't stop them. But if they want to work with us, they will not have. They can't work in the same way the way they have been doing. We don't want to alienate anyone, but we don't want to bring anyone who comes with a bad track record.
Yeah.
Nice. So I think, with that, having a good track record and everything. So do you see in terms of technology, especially we're talking about blockchain here, with respect to access to data and information for transactions, can that play a role making sure, that things are transparent, not for now, but, for a longer period of time, not being fudged and stuff like that?
Uh,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, that's how we have understood tokenization all along, right?
Yes, exactly.
That is the primary purpose of why we are talking about it right now. Security being the topmost out of it.
Yeah.
Non Not being able to being fudged, played around with is
Yeah.
another. And what it does, it gives a lot more access to things that were not being accessed before. So that is another major advantage of what tokenization is going to bring into this industry. From a very investment point of view, it's going to democratize the industry to an extent currently I would say unimaginable right now. Because
Hmm.
when we are talking about real estate, it usually comes with a back end perception of high ticket size.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It does. But and when we are talking about tokenization, it's going to change that altogether.
Yeah.
But I'm very intrigued by the fact I was going through your entire website. I didn't find a mention of blockchain or tokenization, which while you are dealing into the fractional real estate. So I was very curious to understand how you're planning to play along with it.
Uh, so I'll take that question. We're planning to play along in two ways. One,
Hmm.
we are just onboarding our first tokenized real estate partner, which is Riser.
Hmm.
So we've not had a blockchain partner till now, or like a tokenization partner till now, who was doing blockchain-based real estate investment. So once we
Hmm.
have the first one and we are working on onboarding them, we will have them on the platform. Second is our lead investor. So we are a startup and a funded startup. Our lead
Hmm.
investor is Sumit Gupta, who is founder of CoinDCX, the biggest crypto exchange in the country. So we're already
Okay.
talking to him on how do we bring blockchain into this in two format. One, you can't have large transaction costs for small ticket sizes. So blockchain
Hmm.
will solve for the transaction costs associated with this. The second is the one you we were talking about is the data side of it. So blockchain being a public ledger, once it gets to a point where your physical world data is linked to blockchain based data, once that database like the linkage is complete, then you can get to a point where you will be able to use blockchain in real world assets and real world transactions immediately. So that's something we are building towards. Will take some time, but it'll get to a point where blockchain will solve for the data discrepancy which comes everywhere.
Yeah, so very interesting to hear that you have been talking to Team Riser. Rather, they were on their first podcast.
First episode.
And
I was just
of
going to
course,
say that.
Surya has been very deeply involved with REIT community right from its inception. So we go as deep as that.
Yeah.
So yes, I completely get where you are coming from.
Yeah,
Right.
the tools are there for us to use. We just need to use them at the right time.
Yeah.
Hmm. Right timing is important.
Yeah,
Right
very
timing is
important.
important. Yeah. If you're ahead of time, people will not believe it and it will fizzle away. If you are late, then there is no point.
Yes, there's
And the good,
always this baggage, real estate being so-called untrusted, Web3 being untrusted. There's always the walking the pinnacle sword. Yes, Alec,
Malik,
you are saying so.
no, no, I was just saying, it's a good point. What you're trying to do is not build everything in house. So,
Hmm.
you're getting Riser on board, and having, I'm sure, the once you start expanding with the funding that you were mentioning earlier, that the ecosystem has the potential to grow much faster.
Yes,
In
absolutely.
both sides. In Web 2, like the standard fractionalization versus Web 3, which you have different partners. So, how you think that there's going to be a challenge, handling all of that? Because what happens is, how do I where I'm coming from is, see, using blockchain is fantastic. So I'm assuming that you're be you're basing on the talent and these intelligence of the onboarded platforms to make sure that all the transactions are clean, and those are the ones recorded, because there can be false transactions as well, right?
yeah.
So are you, from your platform point of view, trying to use anything, or some sort of sanctity check process, or it's totally on the onboarded platform? Sorry, it's a long question.
So you're basically saying verifying the blockchain bit of it, because
Yes.
both real estate and Web3 has been historically seen as. But Shikhar, you want to take
Yeah.
this?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Good, good, good.
Okay. So like one, right now we don't have the structures to verify from like a tech standpoint. So we will
Yeah.
keep doing the manual checks in place. That is how like businesses
Yeah.
built. You do things operationally. You figure out the template and you create a product around it. Once we
Yeah.
start, for example, once we start working with Riser, we will understand what are the things which have to be built on our end for it to be an end-to-end solution. Once we get that in place, then we build the building blocks. Now, it's like we will reverse engineer once we completely get into that partnership, that
Hmm.
for this to happen, we will build it, and we'll build it in a way that after that, anyone who wants to come in can just come in and plug and play.
And at the same time, your question being absolutely spot on, but this is a bridge we haven't reached yet. As
Yeah.
Manishil mentioned, we are going to cross it once we reach there.
Yeah. No,
If
that's
I
a fair
may,
point. Go ahead, Ashank.
so if I may also use this point to reflect upon a key risk. See, we all have got into a habit of talking only positives about the blockchains. But let's be practical in a very unwanted situation. Say, like what Gazans, people of Gaza are facing right now, where everything gets shut off. And for a while, you are completely off from technology, no electricity, nothing. There is always a need of a bit of an offline solution as well. So while on chain is sounds cool, but there's a intrinsic need and a very genuine need that what if some for some or the other reason technology fails, or if it doesn't fail but at least it becomes inaccessible for whatever reason, no electricity, no internet. At least in India we keep seeing such situations once in a while. So something which works even in absence of that, uh, that might be a very prudent call to take.
For
I think,
sure.
yeah,
Sorry.
the greatest analogy, as you mentioned, is internet itself and services based on internet. The constraint that you mentioned applies there as well. But what people have done over the last 2 decades, since when internet became very relevant, what we have been doing year after year is trying to foolproof them and make improvement on the systems that we have a better fail safe every other time we are building it. I think blockchain is going to follow the same path, and that's how they're going to fail safe the whole process. I understand where you're coming from, where electricity goes off and you can't really access those institutions and processes. But when you mentioned Gaza, it's it's a dire circumstance. It's
Yeah,
it's,
that's
it's not a
not the
it's
norm.
it's not a day to day thing, right? So in that case, the whole systems, every system will fall.
Hmm.
Every system will shatter. But internet and services based on internet is the greatest analogy to answer a question, that the fail safes are going to keep on getting better and better. That's the only way out of it.
Just wanted to add to that. So the main problem in such a scenario is, how do you link offline to online? If
Hmm.
online goes away, then what is the bridge? That bridge is the government. So once the regulations come in, which someday it will, they are in progress, where you will be able to link blockchain based transactions or blockchain based reporting, and that goes into government records at some level. So once that is in place, you will have a repository with the government that this is recorded on blockchain, this is now reported into government systems or whatever portal they create. So once that happens, this will solve for it. Like even if the internet goes away for good, let's say even for a week, that government record will still host it. So that's where it will, the gap will be bridged by regulation coming in, where that link between government and then regulation and blockchain and real estate will be together.
Yeah, it's only going to be a hindrance over time.
Yeah.
It's be a
This
hindrance.
is very interesting because in general in Web3 environment we are very used to entrepreneurs saying something which is anti-establishment and those narratives. And here you are actually saying that yes, the government-based blockchain infrastructure would be handy for us. That's
It has
actually a
to
very
be.
new kind of a thinking.
It's a
We live
global
in the
buzz.
country. Huh.
If you see, and it's a global buzz. Governments are talking about blockchain. Governments are talking about their own cryptocurrencies. So it's not that we are talking about something new or novel that the government should do. They are already working on it.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
And
it's
you
a
can hear the
logical
buzz out
step
there.
as well. And I like agree with Shikhar. It's a logical step as well, especially in real
Yeah.
estate, right? Where you
Yeah.
need to have some sort of regulation backing whatever transactions are being done on any platform.
Yeah, there has to be a link. Matlab, there is a physical asset, then there is
Yeah,
internet, and there is nothing in between right now. We are
yeah,
relying on a lot of things for those nothing in between to stay legal. Once government comes in, says this is the format, this is how legality will come in, then that goes away. And no matter what anti-establishment their sentiment there might be, we believe that we live in the country. The laws are governed by the, like, laws are governed by the government. They are set by the government, and we would like to at least get them to a place where they're supporting us instead of fighting against them. We want them
Yeah.
to see what
Hmm.
we are seeing and get their buy-in.
I mean, if there is a possibility of a handshake, I mean, why avoid it? Why? It
exactly.
absolutely makes no sense skipping it. If there is a way you can shake hands with the establishment, why not?
Yeah. No, I totally
Yes.
agree with these points, because you need to work together, right? You can't
Yeah.
always fight the establishment, and then I mean, who does that, right? I
Does
think
that
the
mean you are
possibility
having a
is
hyperledger strategy? Given that
Sorry?
Indian government seems to love hyperledger for a blockchain.
Uh, Too technical for us to answer. I,
Okay. Maybe we
yeah,
need to have Surya along to answer
yeah.
that.
yeah,
If he had dumbed down that question for us a little, we might have been
Okay.
able to.
Yeah.
But like, jokes apart, see, we don't know what the government is doing in the back end right now. But
Hmm.
over time, we will start that conversation with them through our investor network, on how do we see real estate growing, and how do we see this coming into their system. So whatever they are building, it's fine, we can't control that, but we'll ask them to build that certain aspect for our set of business, because real estate is a $250 billion industry in the country, growing tremendously, supposed to go to a trillion by 2030. So it's a significant play for the government to step in, and also make money out of it. At the end of the day, Sarkar makes a lot of money from
Yeah.
real estate, and so they would also want a share of the pie. So it's just that we have to go as a group to them with the right set. Ki, this is what we want from you. This is how it will benefit you. Let's work together and create a link between a physical asset and a digital asset.
Mm.
So, in the current capacity, what Investory's model is, how different it is from, say, CRE Matrix or PropStack, which are also real estate data analytics backed services?
Shikhar, you want to take this?
So what we are doing is, uh, we are not just providing data around real estate per se from Yeah, I think you went offline for a couple of seconds, I guess. That's when
Yes.
I mentioned that when it comes to real estate, there are two primary modes to it. One is real estate as an asset ownership instrument versus an investment instrument. Right? What they are doing is they are adding a data analytics layer to any and every real estate that is out there up for ownership. Right? The products that products that Investory deals are purely investment products. When I say investment products, there is a return associated with it, right? So when we say that we are analyzing these investment instruments, it is a different ball game altogether. I'm not analyzing them for a user to just buy and keep it for themselves. We are analyzing the financial investment aspect of it and then offering them a product that is going to reap the most benefits for them. Benefit is one part of it, security, safety, and a lot of other things. That is something our data is going to take care of around these investment instruments particularly.
Just
That is the
to
major difference between what they are doing and what Investory has embarked the journey on.
So you are
so just
getting a
to
little more into the there's a certain filtering which has been done. There's a what you are saying, they are more like open source, but you have actually very selectively got into a particular portfolio where a
yes,
lot of
Yes,
due
we would
diligence has been done.
yes,
we would
absolutely.
rather on the way we see it, we would use their data to build our own thesis. So
Yeah,
like they
Mhm.
if they, for example, they put out a CRE report, CRE Metrics puts out a CRE report for Bombay, we will understand that. So we're not working against them, we are actually using some of the data they are putting out into our own analysis. Our analysis is hyper focused on the investment opportunities, their analysis is more focused on real estate in general. That's what Shikhar was saying. They're more everything on real estate will be there. We are very hyper focused on those specific investment instruments which are there on the platform.
and what this
So,
does is this opens up again an opportunity of a handshake, which we are going to do with them.
Yes,
mhm.
for sure.
I love
Yes.
this kind of concept, right? Where you're doing handshake with multiple companies with with the APIs or whatever way, and I mean that's where the ecosystem will evolve,
Yes.
Yeah,
right? If you have one company doing it all, the chances of failure are again a little higher, and it becomes centralized, right? Maybe not
You
failure,
can't do
but
it all.
sometimes it could also be control.
yeah,
Well,
Mhm.
you can't do it all. You can't build it all. If and you can't alienate people as well. But if I'm going to say tomorrow that I will take away business from brokers, we will not exist within a day. The office will
hmm,
not exist within a day, for that matter.
Yes, I know where you're going.
Yeah.
You don't.
I don't want to get into the details, but just saying
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's a big enough pie for everyone to solve. We are just getting into the starting of the solve of the problem. If there is significant play for everyone to work together and solve it faster rather than everyone trying to create a it's not every man for himself. It's let's work together towards a common goal.
So
No, it's
and
Manishil
because
and
this is a
Shikhar,
nascent industry, uh, everybody is very welcoming of the handshake that I was talking
Yeah.
earlier. People
hmm.
are willing to work with each other together to help the industry in itself. So the
Yeah.
industry grows because the industry grows, you grow, I grow, everybody grows. So
So
there's
I'm
no
just
point of
trying to
competing when you can
wonder into this
work together.
ecosystem partnerships. Are
Yeah.
Yeah.
is Investory almost like becoming a real estate based investment bank? Because they also get into so much partnerships, ecosystem partnerships. They are doing the
They
due
would
diligence, giving a very selected portfolio for their investors.
we can't be a bank because we don't host the money. We stay out of people's money. You directly
Investment
put your
banks
money
don't necessarily work on that. That's merchant bank or commercial banks, what you're saying.
That's commercial banking. Yeah, no, if you see that analogy, yes, but at a wider scale, where we would want to partner with people to build things faster. For example, we are partnering with prop returns to get CRE onto the platform. We are
Hmm.
partnering with brokers to get residential resale on the platform. We are getting farmland, farmland and hydroponic with partners on the platform. We are getting fractional commercial real estate with partners on the platform. We can't do everything on our own, and neither can they. If
Hmm.
their focus is building the asset class, our focus is building the awareness and getting more people to come there. So we are both solving for each other's problems.
Hmm.
Simplifying it for the audience who don't understand all this jargon, is it like building the Flipkart or the marketplace for real estate where you get different kinds, different partners bringing their own agencies? Is it something like that? In
The
a
easier way,
simpler.
like, or the more simpler way to think of it would be like grow. I won't say zero though, because equity is a different ball game. Grow, where your mutual fund are replaced by real estate investments, which are verified, which are data backed, connected by a tech layer, and you can easily transact. So we would rather call ourselves like a grow slash zerodha for real estate and alternative investments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. Nice. So I have a follow-up question, which is like, you mentioned about the investment opportunities and how it does. So let's talk about a little about the exit. So what sort of options does the platform have available, for the investors, from investment point of view, when they want to exit it? What options are available? Like,
So if
say,
you
I hope
how
that's clear, right?
yeah, the
Yeah,
question is clear, but the answer is not that straightforward, because we operate across multiple asset classes. Some of them have a fixed period, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. Some of them are like real estate holding. If it is a fixed period, then you by default exit at the end of the period. If it is a real estate holding, uh, because most of them are fractional, it's easier to sell because you don't have to exit the complete asset. In case you are looking to exit, you can exit as an individual.
But how do they find necessarily a secondary earnings? And see, this question is very, very important.
Hmm.
Rather, I can vouch for a fact that almost every real estate tokenization based platform in India, in US, globally, is struggling for the very same answer. That how do you ensure the liquidity for these investors? How do these investors who have got into these fractional ownership based instruments are going to get that secondary exit? Like the same problem I'm sure ki even HBET stratas of the world are facing, and there's a bit of a centralized dependency on their model. So at the moment, what is the solution you have got? In future, what are you planning?
So if you think of it, this basic economics, supply demand. The more
Hmm.
people who know about it, more people want to get a share of the pie. There is no demand, resale will come in. We just to give an example, we've been talking to Strata for a resale. By the time
Mhm.
we went to them with the client, they're already sold it off to someone else, and
Mhm.
we had to wait for another resale to come in. People are getting, even at this scale, when awareness is limited, when not
Mhm.
that many people know about it, Strata, someone like Strata or Edgebits is able to sell their secondary within couple of weeks. That's not a norm in traditional real estate, where you don't know 3 months, 6 months, 6 years, for that matter, that people have to wait, because
That's why
it's a
they pay so
very
much commission to brokers.
sorry.
That's why they pay so much commissions to brokers.
No, so in this case, from what we know, they got it from their internal channel only. They've
yeah.
got their
Hmm.
internal investor to come and buy it.
Hmm.
So what your question would have been a major concern, let's say 8 months ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
8 months ago, the industry was very different, but right now, like the way Strata or Edgebits or the FCRE players are closing opportunities, the pace with which they are closing opportunities, the turnaround time is as low as couple of days, sometimes even hours.
Yeah.
So there's a
So
lot of demand out there.
typically,
Takes care of
this
the
is
resale
very
part.
interesting, Shikhar. But what? So rather, this is something probably the most interesting insight for our audience. I must say that audience should really understand this concept very well. Now, here, this is the biggest question which all of them have in mind. Let's say that today I'm investing this 10 lakh rupees into this particular fractional piece, into this grand mall which is coming up. Now, when I'm looking up how do I really get that secondary exit? Now, you're saying that this is becoming almost a fraction of a day, kind of a timeline. The big question is how. Like, say, if I have to sell your products, how do I assure that real estate, that retail investor that look, you'll be able to get a secondary exit?
It all depends on the returns, right? If the returns are good, everyone wants a share of the pie. If the return is 3%, no one wants it. If the return is 8%, everybody wants it. So that is where the first level filter comes in, that you would want to put investment product which makes sense, which are inflation beating.
Yes.
If I put a 2% rental with a 5% capital appreciation product on the platform, no one will buy it. That's your AU bank at this point of time on your saving account
Hmm.
is giving you a 7.5% interest rate. It will not make sense in case you're looking at it from an investment standpoint. So that is
Hmm.
where the differentiation comes in, that there has to be some filter on the returns which are being coming, which are there. If it is not going to beat inflation, if it is not going to beat FD, then people will not come there from an investment standpoint. That is the differentiation. That you keep the returns to an extent where people
Hmm.
want to come in, that oh, this is a good place to be. And that's what strata and edgebits have created, that we will only get grade A. It will take some time to get new properties, but we'll only get you the best, and people wait for it. For example, strata's some property in Pune had 11.5% rental return. It went away in 17 minutes,
Hmm.
which was like worth 30 crores. So
Yeah.
that's the amount of power which is there in terms of returns. If the returns are good, people will come in. If the returns are good, bad, no matter whatever you do, people will not come. So that is where people have to actually realize the secondary market or the resale will only come when the returns are good.
So liquidity is not just dependent on, because what typically, at least as a I must say management student, we'd come to think is ki what all these higher returns etc. do is just make that secondary price higher. But you are saying it's not just that they are making the secondary price higher, just they are also ensuring there's sufficient liquidity.
Yeah,
They are
that
also
is
ensuring
where
that there's a demand which is there to absorb it right at that moment.
yeah, that's how it has to be. If it is not making financial investment sense, then it no one will believe in it.
Yes,
That's where
because
we
it's
want
an
that whole.
investment product, right? At the end of the day, it's an investment product, and it's a long-term investment product.
Mhm.
Okay, and because of the lucrative returns that these long-term investment products provide, even with when you said that over time around resale the returns may differ, but they're taken care of by, let's say for example, you're investing in an FCRE product. It's
Mhm.
a long-term investment product deemed to be like, let's say suggested holding period is 10 years. You want to liquidate in 3 years. All right. So there is capital appreciation. So you will say that it reduces the percentage of my returns, but at the same time there is rent escalation as well, which takes care, balances out, and your returns remains the same, and the product is still equally lucrative. So the uh, question that I'm going to buy the same unit at a higher price, so my returns will go down, is solved like that. So the percentage will still remain the same because the rental escalation and the price of the unit will balance it out always. The products are designed like that.
Fair
So
enough, but
I have a question
fundamentally,
here.
customer has dependency on Investory platform to find the second buyer at the moment.
At the moment, yes.
At the moment,
And
Yeah.
they can even
On our
find.
AMC, yes.
Yes, huh.
or
It's not
AMC.
just us. Huh. It's also on the AMC. It is on us. Over time, we will build a base where there will be people willing to come and take that place. Where we have already seen that.
Yes.
So the
Yes, Alex,
dependency
you
is
are
on
asking
us
something.
and the AMC only because the demand is directly interacting with us. The
Hmm.
day the demand starts directly interacting with an investor, they won't need us, which is again
And
a bridge we'll
how
cross
are you
when we reach
ensuring
there.
that? How
Huh?
are you going to ensure that they will have a direct interaction with the investor and not through you?
We'll create a secondary sale platform where
No,
people can
I'm going
just
to
come and
facilitate
list.
it. I'm going to
Okay.
facilitate that interaction. It won't happen by themselves. I'm going to facilitate it. I'm going
Okay.
to regulate it. If I have to give you an analogy, it's going to be an exchange kind of a thing where supply and demand can interact with each other, but through my facilitation on my platform, I'll regulate it.
So earlier I had two questions. So one question, now I have two. One is, so suppose it's a distressed sale that I have to do, right?
Hmm.
And there is no buyer. Let's talk in simple terms. I want to do 10%. I bought, Ashank said 10 lakh rupees of investment in a fractional. I get 10% of it, for an easier understanding. Now I want to sell it. There's no single buyer available who can have that wants that 10%. But I have five buyers who can buy 2% and then that fractional. So can I, through a platform, subdivide that ownership and take an exit? No,
Not
right?
right now. Not right now. But once the regulatory aspect comes
Yeah.
in, so it started at 100 crores. Now it is
Yeah.
down to 10 lakhs.
Hmm. Yeah.
Someday that number will come down to 1 lakh. Someday that number will come down to 1,000. So
Yeah.
as the more Shikha, you wanted to say something.
No, 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 no. I was just going to add that in our own journey in the past 1 year, we have seen that ticket size come down from 25 to 10. So it's
Yeah.
Yes,
about time that it's going to
come down.
democratize
Come
even
down.
further.
Yeah.
So once
So
once
so
the
it's just a
regulation,
matter of time when this will
it's a
be
matter of
available.
time. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of time. Like it's a matter of
Yeah.
Yeah.
when.
When.
Then
Yeah.
Once
yes.
the regulations are in that you can do for a lakh, everyone will do for a lakh. Everyone wants more people to come and take a bigger share of the
Yeah.
pie. So
Exactly.
once that happens, then you will be able to say, oh, I had 10 units, well, 10 lakh units. I will sell all of it to five different people
Yeah.
who are willing to
Distribute
pay.
it multiple. Diversify my portfolio in a way.
Yes.
Interesting.
Now,
Interesting. So now the
speaking of the
second question.
regulation, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
Ashank, before I forget, it's a very
uh-huh.
important one. So, Shikhar, you mentioned you're going to build a platform for facilitation where the buyer and the seller talk to each other, right? Fantastic.
Yes.
What do you think that, see, your as a platform value is, in making that transaction happens through your platform? That's where you will, have that revenue coming in. What if they, bypass the system and do it directly?
So that is where legal frameworks come in, no? That we will get people to
Yeah,
sign that MOU before they get access to the seller, for example. Once they're legally bound, if they choose, then it goes to a legal recourse. It's a headache for them for saving that half a percent to a percent of money. If they want
yeah,
to get into a legal recourse, then that's a challenge they are going to face. That is where we will build legal structures that we will facilitate it, but we will only facilitate it if you are willing to sign on our terms. And someone who is looking to sell and get money will be willing to do that. Because we see people willing to take a 10% discount on just selling it immediately. We are saying ki we will sell it at the price where you want to sell it at, but we will take our cut, which is a standard in the market. We are not even taking as much money as a broker would do, where there is no like there is no cap. Whatever their demand, you have to pay. If you are willing to pay a broker without a legal compliance or a MOU in place, we are hoping that a legal binding document will help us enforce the other side.
interesting.
And in the world we live in where everybody is looking for all kinds of convenience, there's a
Yeah,
very practically very slim chance for a investor to bypass us in this whole process. I mean, there is no real ROI there for them.
yeah. It might be an edge case. I just thought I'll ask.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
people want to do it. It might be an edge case, right? Especially at the volume that people want to operate at, right? It kind of, it's a risk mitigation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashank, sorry,
So
you had something.
So speaking on the regulation piece, in the month of May, SEBI had come up with this potential plan, which is yet not stamped,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
it was kind of a teaser given to all these digital fractional ownership based platforms, that they will have to necessarily comply with the MSM REIT policies in coming
yeah.
days. So, and that's, they had very clearly quoted some of your potential partners like HBITS, Strata, for that matter, that you would have to necessarily do that. So, how do you see that kind of a roadmap? Because I clearly see a lot of the business models kind of coming into the similar kind of a thing. At the same time, they are also clearly opening a pathway for the secondary market as well, because then SEBI listed exchanges would be actually the place where these fractional ownership platforms could be exchanged among investors.
Okay, so I will actually try to create understanding how this is going to work. Let's let go of the draft paper. The way you see it in terms of fractional, you're getting some part of the whole piece of the pie. What SEBI is trying to do is getting this AMC platform to list it at a common place, which is regulated by SEBI. That is what is happening. Everything else remains same. Your ownership remains same. The way you are getting your money remains same. Only the way your equity is listed, where right now it is listed on MCA portal, where you are giving a share of the SPV or the special purpose vehicle, that will get converted into a listing on the NSE or wherever they asked us to. That's the only change which is happening. The way SEBI had drafted the first set of norms was, I won't say archaic, but it took a lot from the original read format. And the way
Mhm.
AMC platform was working, that they wanted to move away from the read format. That we want people to get direct ownership instead of getting investing in a REIT. Like if I can get a 10% return somewhere, I will not want to invest in a REIT. So that was
Mhm.
the objective. Now with the draft paper, all of our partners went back and said ki these are the things which are missing, these are the things which should be changed. So SEBI has now gone back. Now they will, because for example, holiday homes was not mentioned. Residential, sorry, not residential, your under construction was not accounted. Your lands were not accounted. So all of these were not done. Now all of our partners have gone back with their recommendation, and we are expecting another draft paper to come up soon in the next quarter. That will hopefully clear out things a little more. So from what I'm saying, just to summarize, for an investor, everything remains same. For the AMCs, that is where their things will change. Ki where do they list it? Where do they hold it? What kind of compliances they have to do? That's what is going to change.
This was a big problem which I see in this regulation, and I'm using the word problem very consciously.
Yeah.
Is that they have also made a bit of a net worth qualification. The real estate developer has to have necessarily so much years of experience, net worth of at least 10 crores or something, which kind of removes that kind of properties as have been discussed, which could be, very very simple properties, maybe even worth 1 crore 60 lakhs, etc. It kind of qualifies only a very limited developers who matches up that kind of a criteria. And given that at least your model is coming on the general real estate properties, so that's where I was wondering, okay, would that how this entire piece would be managed? Or how do you see this turn of events? Because the policy is yet not formal, so it's still in a process
See,
only.
sorry. So we firmly believe there has to be some check. If you are fractionalizing, so for example, a 1 crore property will have a small tenant. The risk of attrition is higher. The risk of loss of rental is higher. The risk of not being able to sell it later is higher. With the larger properties, that's not the case because your tenants are big. You have blue chip tenants, you have larger tenants. So at least in my opinion, that there has to be some level of checks. I'm not that 10 crore, 15 crore is a number, that's something which will be discussed between the people, between the builders, between SIB. But there has to be some level of checks where if you are building for retail, the retail can't be exposed to something which is very risky. So that is where that check has come from. And SEBI historically has always been that retail investor should not be harmed in any way. That has been their thesis, and they're staying true to that thesis that we don't want small size builder to come and take money and run away, or
Hmm.
create an aim just for the sake of it, take money and run away. So this creates a first level of like safety. And again, it's a start. You start from somewhere. Things will modify over time. Once there is the first building blocks, then you move from there depending on the direction you want to move in. But we are just waiting for first one should come out soon.
Yes. I think, wow, we are coming close to the end of an hour, and this we feel that we have barely touched half of what we wanted to touch.
No,
Yes, that's what happens when you have insightful discussions.
time quite literally flew by, just like that.
Yeah, so I have
Uh,
a sort of an ender question, if that's okay. Sorry, Mani, you were saying something?
no, I was just going to crack a joke. Please go ahead.
Oh, jokes are good. Cool. So I'll display on scale. So what's your view on tokenization as enabler for democratization of real estate? Because primarily it has been, with few people, like as an industry, right? The big builders, and it's usually the homeowners, from an investment point of view, who would buy and then rent it out, because as the middle class started rising with more money coming in, so that's where the investment in. But tokenization is trying to get into more tier two, tier three cities as well at a later stage, right? That's
Yeah.
what how I see. So, what is your view on it?
See, I think we have touched, and Shikhar also has extensively talked that transaction cost and reporting, the cost of doing that will only come down with tokenization. Uh, you can't have AMCs doing 1,000 rupees ticket sizes and spending the same amount of money on resources they are. So this will only get enabled when your transaction costs are, let's say, 1/100th of what is it right now. And tokenization of blockchain is the only place which will be able to enable it in the long run. Uh, that is why we feel that tokenization will come into the picture. They will reduce the ticket sizes. It will reduce the cost. It will reduce and once the regulatory aspect is also clear on blockchain, it will also build that bridge between real world assets and digitization of that asset. So once that whole circle is complete, then you will fast track into democratization of this, that you can invest into real estate, commercial real estate, like let's say at 1,000 rupees. I don't have
Yeah,
10 lakh, but I will invest with 1,000 and I will build that portfolio like you build your equity portfolio.
exactly. And it's a very fair and simple analogy. When tokenization comes into this industry, let's say a 50 crore real estate is a company going public,
Hmm. Hmm.
and now the shares can be exchanged on a platform, which is happening right now. It is going to be exactly like that once this comes into play.
I'm very sure that with the kind of a portfolio you guys are putting off, 8% returns and 14% IRR, which is way much higher than typical commercial real estate, which we hear in the market, 4 to 5% returns and much lesser appreciation. The This will definitely sail through. Rather, I would emphasize on my words that you are almost becoming like a real estate ka investment bank, handpicking those kind of a portfolios
Yeah.
in those models.
Ashang is hell
So
bent on converting you into a bank.
name is Investorey.
If it makes us make more money for everyone, we are happy converting to a bank.
Absolutely.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, what do you want Investory to be known for? Probably the last question for today.
See, we want Investory to be that one-stop solution for you to invest in real estate and alternative investment. That you don't
Yeah.
have to worry about, I have to go to somewhere, I have to go to someone. If you are thinking of investing in real estate, not from a view of consumption, we want you to come here. That is what we want. That we will help you out with wherever you want to invest.
Yes.
Fantastic. So, I think Shikhar Manishil has given that on your behalf as well. Or you have to add
Yeah,
something?
absolutely.
We aligned on
What
it.
we want to be is going forward. You think it apart from all your traditional modes of investment. If you're still thinking of investments, you think of Investory and we'll take care of everything.
Fantastic. That's so comforting, to know from an investor point of view that you have a platform you can trust, which can help you good returns. I mean, headache gone, man. I mean, that's a big thing, especially in real estate.
Yeah. For a country where every household has thought of investing in real estate, we don't have a single platform which lets you invest in real estate.
Yeah.
Interesting. So then you will also help in rental as well, getting the rental, getting, I
Maybe
mean, as a
sometime,
extension, not
huh,
immediately.
not
Yeah.
immediately, but we'll build value-added services where we're helping the to get more value of the existing real estate as well. So we'll
Mhm.
build that, but that's sometime down the line.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
One problem at a
Fantastic.
time.
Oh yeah, yeah,
One problem.
absolutely. That's the best way to do it. One problem at a time. Ashank, we are pretty much at the end. Your last thoughts,
Yes,
please.
yes, yes. So I like to end on my note that with best wishes to Team Investory.
Thank you.
Clearly, the fundamentals are so good. That's why investors are also very much happy to give you more and more rounds of funding. So and that speaks a lot. That speaks a lot that a company which has been able to gain that confidence of the investors at large, at least the angel investors, and it will definitely succeed in getting the confidence of the retail investors for its products.
Yeah.
So yes, we are out here to change the paradigm of real estate, make it clean. So with that intention, things should be going up north. All the
Oh yeah,
best, and many
absolutely.
thanks for coming over.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys. And I think it shows, good solid foundation what you guys are building on. So all the best. And yeah,
Thank you.
Rise and shine. Thank you very much.
Thank
All
you.
Onward
right.
and upward.
Thank you,
Pleasure,
and
man.
thanks to our viewers
Great.
for being with
Yes.
us.
Yeah. Thank you, viewers, for joining
Thank
in.
you.
And we will be back with another episode probably next week. So
Next
watch out
week.
for this space. Thank you very much. And I will end
Thank
the
you.
stream.
Thank
Bye
you
bye.
guys. Bye.
Bye bye.